My name is Jacob Matthias. I write this as I sit upon my wooden chair at my porch, looking over my garden and the ocean blue sky, for which the clouds leisurely strolled. I write this from records for which I have witnessed around the middle of my life. Records I believe are so massive they would be talked about long before I depart this world. I know not if this record shall endure to find its place in history, yet I must put it down on paper, that the truth may not fade into legend, nor be stretched by poets into myth. These are records of how man in everything the sun touches, for which had initiative, was free. Gifted rings, records of Jacob Matthias. I was born into a time when man no longer had dominion, when the reign of his freedom had waned, and the vastness of earth lay beyond his grasp. A time man was treated worse than resources, when man was a slave to he who reigns. My parents and their parents before them knew nothing but slavery. Men worked the mines, tended the gardens, or struck the river, anything he who reigns believed to be little him in all his glory. I was born into that world but grew tall and strong. My family's handlers took me to the mines, where my youthful strength would be utilized. I worked there from age 10 to 16. My body grew stronger, and my eyes grew sharper. I bonded with my fellow captives. We knew nothing but slavery and tried to have fun by chasing one another during break time. We lived this way and carried on for another 4 years. Our captors were fellow men and elves, those who had chosen to side with he who reigns during his descent from the heavens. They too are slaves, but more of slaves with status and authority over other slaves. One day, as with every other, we had just completed our morning tasks and were taking a brief rest. Matthias stood over us, a tall elf with emerald eyes and hair like golden silk. He was the overseer of our group. He had watched us with cold scrutiny all day, and now, as we paused to breathe, he began to approach. "Get back to work," he said. The others and I had the curtain of confusion drawn on us. "This is our 20-minute break," cried a voice behind me, deep in the mines. "We have met our morning quota already," cried another from above, somewhere in the top walls. "He who reigns does not care. His only request is more lithelium," said Matthias as his brows attempt to meet. No one uttered a word, and neither moved a muscle. A sneer slowly appeared on Matthias's face. He strikes the ground with his golden spear, and the earth beneath our feet stirs in response. "Unless you wish to face the consequences for defying him, I suggest you better go back to work," Matthias said. We exchanged glances at one another. We knew each other's thoughts, but dared not say. We picked up our pickaxes and resumed work. "Wise choice," he said, as his sneer quickly turned to a smirk. He turned around to head back to his post, but stopped and said, "You know, you men have always been a pain." He turned back to face us. "You men are meant to be ruled over. It's just how it is." He stepped closer to us as he continued, "You all are inferior. Your current circumstances all by divine weaving." A chuckle is heard from deep in the mine, getting the attention of Matthias. He raised his head in an attempt to search for the source, while he continued, "Such is the truth, for if it is not." A brief but terrifying silence fell, and we in unison turned our heads slowly to Matthias as he continued. A bright pillar of light came crashing through the ceiling of the mine above where he stood. It struck Matthias, burying him instantly in the rubble. Chapter 2. The Tall Golden Man. As the light cleared, a man was revealed. A strangely tall man. He was double my height and had a glowing golden armor and a glowing silver undergarment. He stood with one leg pressed against Matthias, his face filled with a smile, similar to that of a father holding his newborn first child. I did not know a voice could be so powerful. As he spoke, the earth around us quaked gently. "Dominance of earth. My people and I are here to free you from your false king. He who rules over you with an iron fist. Pick up arms and march to his door. We shall help only if you help yourselves. March on!" "Nay," says a voice behind me. Beyond my control, I felt a wave of calm. I believe I even let out a breath of relief, for I had recognized the voice. It was that of Ecknel. Ecknel steps forward closer to the Golden Man, until he is between us and the Golden Man. "Why should we trust you? How are we sure you do not wish to simply replace he who reigns, and by using us to do your bidding?" Ecknel presses. I could see the Golden Man peering into Ecknel's eyes as if reading him like a book, doing all this without breaking his fatherly smile. "You are Ecknel, are you not?" asked the Golden Man. I believe an angel passed by, for a heavy silence swept through us. In this silence, Ecknel slowly nods in agreement. "My people and I are not to rule, only to record. My brother Alzer, whom you refer to as he who reigns, broke that rule." The Golden Man slid his gaze to us, the miners and I, who stood behind Ecknel, then returned his gaze to Ecknel and continued, "And has altered the nature of this world. This is not to be so." The Golden Man takes a slow but steady step towards Ecknel. I appealed to the court to intervene. They decided to do so, but only if the dominants want our aid. Ecknel stood firm on the ground like an oak tree. His facial expression had not changed. "That does not answer my question." The Golden Man slightly arched his head while squinting. Ecknel transfers his weight to his left leg. "I asked you, why should we trust you?" This silence did not feel like that of an angel. It felt ominous. My muscles tensed up, ready to sprint in the opposite direction. Ecknel continues, "We have not seen him in person. To speak for myself, I only heard stories and saw paintings. Also, even if you aren't him, we have built a decent work life with him." Ecknel sweeps his eyes over us briefly, then back to the Golden Man and continues, "I don't know if you've heard of this saying." Ecknel clears his throat briefly, but loud enough to echo the minds. "The devil you know is better than the angel you do not know." Another silence falls over. At the corner of my eyes, I could see a few taking slow steps backwards. My body attempted to join them, but I actively restrained. "Honestly, Ecknel, I do not believe there is a word I would say that would sway you from your heart." Ecknel transfers his weight to his other leg, while clenching and releasing his grasp on his pickaxe. "Ecknel, you know, you can trust me. If you didn't, you wouldn't give me an audience." "Fine, but we can't take down he who reigns with wood and stones," Ecknel said. "I agree," the Golden Man says as he reaches for a sheath blade hung on his waist. As he pulls it, I realize it is entirely made of light. A wave of warmth hits my skin as it swings gracefully. He offers it to Ecknel, saying, "I give this to you, Ecknel, to use in guiding your people." Ecknel's face was filled with confusion and amazement, but his body seemed restrained. I suspect the Golden Man could sense this, because he embeds the sword to the earth and takes 3 large steps back. "This sword exists because I actively will it to." Everyone draws their stare from the planted sword to the Golden Man. "As long as that sword exists, I am actively thinking of your people, Ecknel, your fellow dominants," he said. Ecknel steps closer to the sword without breaking his gaze on it. He slowly wraps his fingers around the hilt of the sword. He looks up at the Golden Man, as if waiting for approval. The Golden Man nods with an encouraging smile. I see Ecknel draw the sword from the earth and observe it, slowly rotating it from side to side. "You and your people must march east to the throne of he who reigns. Pick up any and all weapons, including those of and from your enemies. Your army will grow and would need to be equally equipped. Your foe is very great." Ecknel gives a firm, determined nod. The Golden Man walks back to the hole from the ceiling. As he stands under the hole, with his back facing us, He looks upwards into the hole, most likely to the heaven from which he dropped from. The dominants from the north are heavily imprisoned. They would join you in the battle against Alzur. Your primary burden is to march to the throne. The golden man's glow slowly intensified. He cast a glance over his shoulder to Ecknel and said, "Ecknel, when the time comes, you must remember them." As he came, so he left. A pillar of light came down, covering him and taking him to the heavens. "Did he say, the dominance of the north?" asked Obniel, an equally muscular man like Ecknel, except for his dark skin and wool hair. Another voice behind me whispered, but was audible for my hearing, "I thought they died off. No one has seen them since the descent of He who reigns." I looked at Ecknel and could tell from his hung head, his back just got more heavy. He was given the burden of every man to be born, those that walk the earth, and those who pushed and sacrificed for us all to be here. "Brother, the burden is optional. No matter your choice, we will be behind you." Obniel asked loudly, "We? Nay, why should we risk our life for this? Our lives were just fine," said a voice from behind, equally loud. Ecknel turns to us. I could see his eyes weighed heavy. "You all are entitled to your path. The foe is someone who conquered everything in less than an hour." Ecknel steps closer to us. "I do not know the outcome of this, but I know I will put my sweat and blood down to ensure the burden of my future and their tomorrow is reduced, no matter how little." He looked at the sword in his arm. "Now I have more than words, I have divine support." Ecknel continued with a determined stare. "Join me as I use every fiber of my body to ensure the problem of our children is not a problem of survival." "I am with you, brother." Obniel stepped forward. More stepped forward, proclaimed their support. I didn't know when I followed suit, but I was certain this was worth dying for. I guess my days of simply mining are over.